Y'all, welcome back to Kentucky Fried Wargaming. We're two guys who are qualified to talk about anything, decided to talk about games with hard math and chance. I'm Joe.
And I'm John.
And today, we are back.
We've returned. We have... No one's
from
ever
our winter
really
sleep, our hibernation. If you haven't noticed, we had to take a little break from the show for the first time since we started doing this back in COVID times. And we wanted to, the first thing we did back, at least put out a video to explain and kind of talk about how our winter has been. Which is, in short, life can be rough at times.
Yep.
Over the course of doing the show, we have had, unfortunately, a number of sort of like personal tragedies happen, and we've been able to keep the show going through them, whether that's loss of parents or John's car accident, or other parental sort of emergencies happen, that we could handle those and keep the show going. Keeping the show going was difficult, but didn't detract from being able to help people in our personal lives. And, something popped up in mid to late November that at least feel like the only way we can handle it correctly was to not do the show. And taking it on the chin, we both made the decision to help the people in our lives. And I don't regret that. I think it's the right move. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to help people. And now, though, we are in a place where we got free time back.
Yeah.
The storm has passed, so to speak. Everything is as okay as it can be. And we wanted to come back and kind of talk about what's been going on for our winter and also talk about what we have planned for the future. Because to our credit, we did try to turn that frown upside down.
We did. Even in the midst of like dealing with a bunch of personal stuff and a bunch of things going on, like we still found some time to like enjoy ourselves, right? Like we don't just play games for the sake of the show. We also do it because it's personally rewarding. And so we did some of that. And we'll talk about that and what we're going to do in the future and how things have changed a little bit for us. But to sort of cap this, we're not going away forever. We have returned and we will continue making things.
And we appreciate your patience. I mean, had a little holiday break that we tried to turn the frown upside down to use it as a way to be inspired to come back for what we want to do with the show. And I do think we've done it successfully. And before we talk about it, though, too deeply, I want to first jump to hobby time. Games played. All right, John. What you been up to?
Oh, not quite a bit, actually.
I know. I have to, like, cram it all down in my own head.
Conquest. Lots of that. Lots of Woodrune. I've played a lot of the new Woodrune. Played some against Nords, some against the new 100 Kingdoms. Played it before and after update. Just a bunch. If you're waiting for Conquest talks, we're going to have a lot of that. We've been running the Escalation League still, locally. Getting a lot more people into the game. Sort of getting a lot more people to sort of play. Getting regular games in. People are traveling from, like, central Kentucky up to northern Kentucky to play. Up to southern Ohio to play. People from like central
Columbus,
Ohio coming down to play. Like we've been trying to get a lot of people together to play. We've been scheduling and organizing sort of like a Conquest tournament that's going to happen in the future. Trying to like build our community for playing more Conquest with lots of different people and our particularly yee fashion, where we are going to keep it fun, easy, breezy, and a little trashy. And it's quite good.
But I can't be any other way. I'm always a little trashy.
And we've also like been getting into playing Infinity, because it's a fun skirmish game.
That's true. We've been teaching ourselves. It's been an experience.
I painted all of Sandtrap. That was relaxing. It's quite good. Played what was it? We haven't played Trench Crusade, but I've built an entire table of terrain for Trench Crusade and painted it.
And you painted it.
I've also got a force together. We're going to start diving into Trench Crusade, but for us specifically, we want to make sure everything's built and painted and ready for that very artistic sort of experience. It's because for us, it seems more atmospheric than it seems like super crunchy game.
Yeah, we did have the talk of, well, we could put the gray stuff on the table, and it would be fine, but I think it would take away from a little bit of what makes it alluring and fun for us. And same for the table. We could play on unpainted trenches, but will it feel the same? And our answer was no. So we are getting into it slowly. We at least want the minis fully primed and, starting to look okay to be on the table together.
Yeah. And then...
But I expect we're going to be talking about a lot of Trench Crusade in the future.
Yes. I played a little bit of Warhammer 40k with the Grotmess stuff. That was all cool. Played a little bit of Age of Sigmar, but not a lot. And I think that's about it. I read a lot of lore, read a lot of that, did a whole lot of that. But it's been mostly getting ready to play a bunch of skirmish games and continuing the constant trend of more Conquest. That's been pretty great. Huge fan. It's going to dominate a lot of the next few months for me. It's playing Infinity, playing Trench Crusade, playing Conquest. I'm planning on going to Conquest tournaments. It's going to be great.
Yeah, for me, it's been pretty similar. Throughout the holiday break, there's been a lot of hobbying, mostly on Conquest stuff. There's a bit of a delay with my Nords orders for the new stuff, but they did come in. So I've built up 2 units of Gulter Beast Pack. My wife helped me build up Valkyries, built the Jotnar Cider. The weapon is going to be a pain in my rear end to magnetize. Maybe we'll talk about it on another episode. But it's at least built other than the magneting and all of the green stuff it's going to take. So my Nord stuff is coming along. I still got a box of Steel Chosen to build, which I've done so much building I don't want to do more. But alas, I think it must be done. And I would like to go back to painting Conquest, but my painting table has been taken up by other things, primarily the Infinity that we got. I got the Sand Trap side, the Shinden Butai force that I am painting my way through, and I told myself...
Samurai!
Samurai! And I told myself, because I like the Samurai so much, that I wasn't going to speed paint them. I was going to really take my time and crank it up. I'm going to do all these manual, laid-in highlights and stuff, and I'm not using washes or anything like that. I'm going to manually highlight everything, and that's really cool. It is actually looking good on those 8 minis that I've been doing it on, but it's time-consuming. So I am almost done with the 8 mini bundle. I've got to finish hair, skin, and power weapons. I think is what I got left for all of the paints to do. And then I'll just gotta base them, and they'll be done. But yeah, I've been painting away on the Infinity stuff a lot, which has been a good time, in addition to playing a lot of Infinity. John and I came in knowing very, very little about Infinity and have been basically teaching ourselves, combined with some YouTube videos, to try to figure out how to play it. And all in all, it's a bit of a lift to start, but been pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Infinity, surprisingly, my opinion changed. So like I went to Infinity thinking it was going to be a lot more crunchy and a lot more like, how do I put it, like competitive minded. I think that's the closest word I have for it. And then just the more I have absorbed stuff and the more I've played it and just seen, it instead seems much more like a game where it is buying a particular sort of game and narrative with its rules design. And it seems like the community is in a lot of agreement that this isn't necessarily a sports ball game. It is instead hey, we're going to try to make XCOM but on a table that looks awesome and have super cool action movie moments, but with like tactical play. And yes, that's exactly what I wanted, and it's what I'm getting, and I'm super into it, and I want to safeguard that from the concept of just like, I brought 18 of the best thing and shot someone off the table. Woohoo!
What a nightmare that would be.
Also
what a waste of potential.
15
of the best thing. Yeah. So we've been teaching ourselves slowly. We've come across some interactions that were a little odd. We found some that were really good. But overall, having a positive time. Enjoying it enough that I'm continually working hard on painting these Shinton Butai and ordering more stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. You're going to be hearing about that on the show, I promise you. In addition to that, I have also been working on Trench Crusade. I made my starting, I think it's 700 ducats list for my Iron Sultanates force, and I'm really, really excited to get it on the table. I've got it 3D printed, I got it glued on bases, I got basing material put down, I got it all primed. So now they are in a playable state and good to go. It's just a matter of when John has his stuff together and then we can start playing the Trench Crusade. But I've read all of the lore primer stuff that I could get my grubby little mitts on. And been watching lore videos and short narrative dramas that people are writing third party. And it's just such an enthralling world that I'm excited to get into that. I think there will be many games of Trench Crusade in my future. I also think there will be a league that we've run that is turbo narrative in my future for Trench Crusade.
Absolutely.
Which is what I have wanted to do for Conquest, but I don't think the buy-in is there from our Conquest people. But I think if we're lucky, I might be able to get that buy-in from the Trench Crusade folks who are interested in our local area.
I also think the buy-in for a narrative sort of skirmish game is a little bit easier than an army game.
It is.
And so, because it's like 15 to 20 models tops, right, at most. So it's really easy to sort of go, hey man, we're going to have this big warfront map, and you're going to fight on this warfront and fight against the forces of hell and sometimes each other for these objectives, and you need 15 dudes that you keep in a locker. Like, it's way easier than, hey, I need you to transport this army like every Wednesday night after work and play like a 4-hour game.
Yeah.
And tell a story. Or rush through it at 2.5 hours and not tell a cool story with it.
And then it's miserable and you didn't get what you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this could be easier for us to get what we want. So I'm actually turbo excited for Trench Crusade for like a lot of my own personal reasons. And I expect there will be a lot of that in my future. The thing that I've been working on that John hasn't is I decided to dive back into Blood Bowl. It is what got me into mini wargaming, and it went terribly. And I only got one game of it in. And luckily, I didn't bounce from the hobby. I just bounced from Blood Bowl, which is a shame because it's so up my alley, hence why it got me in. And the local Blood Bowl guys are running a league, and they were starting up a new one. You know, to hell with it. Let's just give it a whirl. Let's just jump back in and see how it goes. So I have not kit bashed up. I 3D printed and then got prepped Blood Bowl team of my own. I'm playing the Draculars, the Sanguine Slashers. And it is the most non-serious thing I have done, I thought, for days on how to make funny puns around famous vampire names and beverages that people enjoy a lot. And all of my vampire players are named after funny spoofs from vampires from movies. So you have Deacon Toss, Count Scorelock, Mean Harker, and Slamdor the Relentless for the What We Do in the Shadows fans. And then Noodles, the Vargeist. And for those who are really into the Lost Boys, you know exactly what I say to people when they go, ah, as Noodles runs at them. And then all of my players are named after drinks. Mo, Ntadu, Faye, Go, Folger, Doc, The Monster, and there's a sixth one that is eluding me. But it's so non-serious, and I have played my first game, and it was hysterical. And in fact, I've had such a good time that I actually have gone back and I've read the first Blood Bowl novel called Blood Bowl. I got it in an omnibus of Blood Bowl novels. I didn't even know they made those, much less a trilogy. And it was also tongue-in-cheek hysterical. So now I think I might be becoming a Blood Bowl fan. I think it might be happening to me. We'll see. I'm only one league match in, but it's going well. But I did jump on the Blood Bowl train, which was one of my goals, was to try to revisit some games like that. So that has also been on my hobby desk that I've been working my way through. And I'm going to paint those dudes as well. And Yeah, I think for me, the thing is I never have enough hobby time to do all of the hobby I want to do, which I think is probably means I'm doing a lot of cool games, and that's a great problem to have. Just trying to pick my battles where I can.
It is the constant struggle. Yes, I went to the shop 3 times this week, and I got to hang out with a bunch of people. I didn't paint anything. Damn.
Oh, also, I've been playing some Moonstone. I've
You
been
have been
playing my
playing Moonstone.
gnomes. I've played some Moonstone. We even did some holiday Moonstone battles where we laid out like a Christmas Village buffalo snow thing with some Christmas Village houses that we fought over. It was an insane, ridiculous time, but had a blast. So I have been getting into Moonstone as well.
And like for me, what I've been doing that Joe hasn't been doing is holy shit, I have been making a ton of terrain. I have been nonstop. My printer runs nonstop on some form of terrain for some part of these games. So like I've been working on Moonstone terrain, Trench Crusade terrain, Conquest terrain for tournament prep, just like constantly making little terrain pieces to get everything ready for all of the games. It's become my task. This is my rock, and I am going to carry it up the hill. And what that rock is printer go burr, so that we're not just playing on Planet Bowling Ball.
Yes. Otherwise, bland.
Got to keep the
Turbo
vibes up. Got to make a Cyber Tokyo.
And airbrush the hell out of it.
Hey, I've been watching Akira.
Motorcycle slide, which is actually a hard slide to do, I think, on that big of a bike, but it's distraction. Other thing though, I for Christmas have received an incredible gift that I have to talk about, or I'd be remiss. So my wife and our housemate Corey have gotten together and schemed for 6 months to order for me a bespoke wormwood table that is gorgeous and beautiful, and they had to hide it for 6 months, and it has finally come in, and was told about it at Christmas, and now I have a glorious table in my game room that we put together, and every time I walk by it, I just sort of marvel at it a little and just give it a little caress, just like, oh, and it's delightful. So we did put that together. I'm counting it as hobby progress, and now playing games in my house will feel a little less unfortunate, because before we're just playing on like 2 fold-out tables in the middle of one of the rooms. They don't even like level the same. It was a little pragmatic, but not permanent. And this feels way better, but also more permanent. So that is a thing, and I'm just immensely ogled and grateful at it every time I walk by. So that's a hobby progress. How kind. And it it just adds to the sort of theme of I'm excited for this next year of stuff that we get to do in the space that we get to do it in, and the people we get to do it with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the perfect transition into what we actually think as we're talking about for what our plan is for 2025.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, probably beyond.
Play music. So, for the actual topic of today's episode, I don't know how long this is going to be. We didn't even write a script. We're purely just going to talk from the top of our dome and out of our chest, and hopefully it is more accurate to how we're feeling.
It's just vibes. Like, it's just straight vibes.
Purely vibes. Because, like, if we're going to be transparent and honest, I feel like you got to kind of be off the cuff, and while even our most prepared episodes are just outlines, I think even an outline might kind of constrict us here. But while we were helping handle all of the stuff that we were dealing with in our personal lives, we wanted to take the time to think about, what do we want to accomplish with the show? What are we happy about with it? And what are we not happy about with it? Because there are things that I feel like we've accomplished quite well, and there is stuff that I just think we could do way better at, and stuff that was starting to feel a bit like work, which is new. That never happened for me before for the show. And I think part of what there was a lot of stuff that started to happen at once, but I think the overarching issue for a lot of it is that there were episodes that we recorded that I wasn't super excited about. Dare I say, there was 1 or 2 that I was barely excited about at all. Maybe not. And I just think that's crying shame. And it doesn't have to be that way. Um, when you're creating content for people, there is always that ever present pressure to do what you think will do well for algorithm and community metrics and blah, 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 blah. You know, there's a big release. Oh, I should do the thing for the big release. Aha, okay, that's going to help the channel, to help it grow. And that is true to some extent. That is totally fair. But I just think in the long term, trying to consider that too much ends up taking some of the joy and excitement away from how you select what you're talking about. And I think for us, it started to.
Yeah, and like to add to that, like I don't know, for at least me personally last year with the war games in general, there was a lot of stuff that happened that made me question what games I was playing, what stuff I was buying, what stuff I was going to make pushes for, and how much effort would be required to even keep up with some of the games. I don't really want to name a bunch of names. Many of you probably know what I'm talking about. But for me, a lot of it came down to also having to make show content about stuff. Like if a thing, if I have struggled to keep up with it when I have a day job, like it's hard to keep up with some of the things that get updated within 2 weeks, just to know my stuff to play the game. I also can't make content for it because then I also have to like on release day of new information, immediately record, immediately edit, immediately do the thing for it to last 2 weeks until that's outside of the talk. It's just demoralizing. There's just nothing to be done there, and it's not content that I want to make. It's not stuff that I want to do. It's not stuff I want to interact with, right? Because I don't interact with these games in the same way. I interact with them like social activities. There's like stuff to do with people. It's fun. It's interactive. It's fun. Like the constant updates isn't a necessary thing for me. I like the cadence of smaller, shorter updates like every couple of months, like something like Conquest does. I think that's fun. I think it's easier to keep up with and talk about, be able to engage in conversation about. On top of that, there's a lot of games I want to play, and if I have to dedicate all of my time to keeping up with one or two of them that just want to dominate my space, I'm less inclined to want to do so. I want to play other games. I want to do other stuff. I want to talk about other stuff. I want to show you all other games. I mean, we've talked about a lot of games last year on the channel. It's one thing we started doing differently, where we talked about like 20 different games. Did we play all of them? No. But even getting into them was really rewarding, right? Just researching them. And many of them are still on the list of stuff we want to play. So we're making the time and making the effort to get it doing. Getting the terrain together for it, getting the paints, the models, getting everything ready and queued up to just sort of play a couple games with a thing and see if we really like it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And run narrative campaigns. Run campaigns for our local group to get people engaged with playing every week. Like talking to listeners, having conversations with people. I mean, I've met some of you in real life. Like, some of you have seen me in real life. And we've had conversations. Like, it's great, right? Like, I want to do more of that. I don't necessarily want to chase this algorithm that is non-existent for a thing that we don't even make money off of, right? Like, we don't have a vested monetary interest in this. We're not trying to
we make $0 off of this.
Yeah, we're not trying to be YouTube famous, y'all. We're trying to like make a space where we can talk about this cool hobby that we really like with other people who really like it, and sort of just normalize playing a thing and having fun with it.
To help facilitate people to enjoy their hobby in the way that we are enjoying our hobby and what we're excited about.
Yes.
And how maybe you could be excited about your stuff too. To help you get there. To help you get games in with people around you, or to make a community, or find one, something like that, so we could all sort of connect better.
I think for me, one of the big things, and we talked about this before the show, is that like when I make stuff for the show, I want it to feel like I'm talking, me, real person, John, and I'm talking to you about real stuff I'm doing and real experiences we're having. Right? If we make a battle report in the future, I want it to look real. I want it to look like it is us playing a game and how we actually do stuff, right? I don't necessarily want, even if it performs better algorithmically, for our content to look like a thing we've produced for a spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we want it to look to you all like a thing that you can relate to. because that's what we're doing. Like, we want to just be real.
Yeah. And then that time off, I think for me, the thing that that I had the big realization of in trying to like think on it for weeks is the stuff that has some of the stuff that has performed best for us is stuff that when I was making it, I thought would do terribly. Okay, terribly. Like total transparency here. Like one of the videos that we did that I did not think would do hardly anything is our Flesh Eater Courts video, right? Like where the Flesh Eater Courts had their big overhaul in 3rd edition, and I was just excited. John couldn't even be there that day. So purely, it was me alone in a room talking at a camera about how freaking excited I am about these diluted Draculas. And why I love them so much, why I think that they're so fun, why I think the fluff is so well made, what makes me excited about it, how it ties to the mechanics on the tabletop, just like purely it was me special interesting at a camera for like 35 minutes or whatever, however long it was. I thought that would do horrifically. It blew up for us compared to our other videos. Did insanely well. And I couldn't quite understand why, other than like, yeah, Flesh Eater Courts had kind of come out a little bit before that. So maybe that got a little algorithm help, but like it shouldn't have popped off like it did. And then it happened again, but with a even worse topic idea as I thought it would be. I made an episode where John wasn't here. Again, car accident time. John wasn't going to be there, so I, purely unsupervised, I'm just going to talk about a thing that I'm interested about, and that is ludonarrative dissonance. That's a boring topic. Let's be honest. That's a real boring topic. That's not one that people are going to want to watch. That's a weird concept that many people don't even understand. But hey, whatever. I'm unsupervised. I want to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. And then I talked at a camera, again, for like 30 minutes. Not even about a cool game thing that I like a lot, but about a game design concept that most people probably don't know exists, or if they do, don't care about. So surely that won't do well, right? That's gonna have to fail, surely. But hey, I'm doing my best here. And we put it out, and it somehow blew up. It's done so well for us. Not only in terms of views, but also in terms of comments and engagement. Some incredibly intelligent responses to thoughts put in the video. Like, it's wonderful. Mm-hmm. It's great. It's one of the best things we've made. And yet, I thought it would be terrible. And for me, and really looking at it from afar for enough time, I think the connecting thing there is that truly, for both topics, while very different, the thing connecting both of them is that I really cared about them. Both of them. I cared a lot, genuinely. Like, I really, for the Flesh Eater Courts, I loved them a ton, and I have for a long time. And I was really excited about what they did for them, for the overhaul. I think it helped them a lot, both in the lore, in the table. So I was genuinely jazzed. And similar for ludonarrative dissonance, I'm someone who can't help but look at stuff kind of through a design mindset. It just happens. And one of my biggest points of both frustration and enjoyment in a game is ludonarrative. When everything is clicking on all cylinders and everything feels how you think it should feel, and you then have this beautiful image in your mind that connects the lore to the table, to the game, to the outcome, to the social aspect. Like when all of that is together in a gorgeous harmony, it's glorious. It's like the best of games for me. And also, when it's bad, it's terrible. And there's a lot of pain there. And talking about both and how to get around it really matters to me. And I think because both of them were really, really passions, even if it's not a really, really interesting topic, there are people who just would rather hear us talk about it because we're excited about it.
Yeah.
And I think going into the new year, that ties with John's thing of, we don't make any money off of this. We aren't chasing the algorithm. Because why? I think for this coming year for the show, one of the big things we're going to try to pivot towards is doing stuff that we're unabashedly excited about.
Yeah.
And to try to lift those things up and show them to other people and why we're so excited.
Yeah, and I think to take that even further is like some of the conversations we've had behind the scenes is from a lot of listener like messages, right? Or like listeners who reach out and talk to us in real life, like just people that we see who watch the show, right? And they talk to us. That is, I think, what's going to drive our future content more than what is performing better on the analytics. Um, it's really easy to look at analytics when you have millions of views or thousands of views, but when we're just like we're small nobodies, right? We're just sort of making a fun thing because it's fun. It's way more impactful when you guys send us comments about what you like or send us messages about what you like, what you didn't like, when you want to see more of, right? And as we're sort of adding more stuff that we're doing in the future and changing how some of this content comes out, what we're doing, sending us what you want to see more of, and even sending us what you think is bad helps us, right? Like we don't fully understand from our perspective what our stuff looks like. But if you can kind of come out and go, hey, y'all, this sucked, or this was awesome, that helps us know what you, the listeners, the people who we're making this for, want to see more of. Because we want to build the community. We want to get more people involved. We want people to feel like they don't have to just sit and watch YouTube videos. That's it. Like you can also come out to conventions and come out to your local shop or our shop or reach out, or we can all communicate and just sort of join together in community around these games, because that's what they're about, right? They're about playing the games with each other and showing the little toys you've been working on with each other.
I mean, that is the thing, like the moments where I have been able to most bask and what is rewarding about all of this effort is in the moments when we get people together in a room who would otherwise not get the chance to meet one another or interact. And because of this thing that I was able to organize a little get together around, multiple different sort of groups of friends that would normally be kept separate are now mingling and making their own friendships together and having a really good time, all because of Little War Barbies.
Mm-hmm.
And like just focusing things on that community is wonderful. And I think that our passion will help that happen and can also help find people who are similarly minded out there who haven't found us yet. At least I hope.
Mm-hmm.
To that end, we got stuff in the pipeline.
A pipeline, you say? Like,
yes, a pipeline.
What kind of pipeline are we talking about?
Not the one you're alluding to. So the first thing is that there's no set schedule for exactly what we're going to do just yet. Before we have been knocking out videos for like the weekly grind. That cannot continue if we want to do the stuff that we want to do. So that's the only guarantee. Otherwise, bi-weekly seems possible, at worst monthly, but we will see. If we want to do like podcast-ish episodes, that is easier to do. That is a smaller lift that we could do more often. Mm-hmm. But we have some ideas for going further than we have with content before. As an example of one that we have been asked about in the comments over and over and over again is the idea of battle reports.
Yes.
People want them in our style. I don't quite understand why fully, but people want them in our style. I suspect it's because it's more relaxed, it's more casual, more narrative, and I'm down to do that. But on the back end, I suspect battle report would take a long time to make. So, until we know what that actually would be like, we don't know how long to say it would be between them, for an example. And there are other ideas that are similar. A thing that I think we could do, but we don't know how long it would take to do it and produce. Or, what pain points that would be. So we won't know until we just dive in and do it. And we are willing to dive in and figure that out and get messy. Just ask you to have a little bit of patience with us while we try to shift this into a much cooler thing than we have been doing before.
I'm going to warn you. Some of it's going to look cringy, and some of it's going to look outright bad. Because I'm going to be... much like when learning how to paint miniatures, you're going to mess up a ton. And honestly, I think that we should just show you all that. Like, we should just show you some of our worst stuff as we're working and figuring it out. Because we're not going to improve unless you call out our mistakes. And also, like... man, like I said earlier, we're trying to look real. And if we're doing that, then there's going to be mistakes, right? Like, it's not going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
perfect, and we don't want you to think that it's perfect. We don't want to create that sort of air that, like, we're unfallible.
The illusion, because it would be
An illusion,
entirely
yeah.
artifice. It's just an illusion.
The other day I played a game of Infinity against Joe, and I put 4 dudes close together, and he goes, I have plasma rifle template, and then blew them up.
In my defense, I didn't know that was going to happen either.
In my defense,
we
I
were
didn't
both
know.
shocked.
We both went, oh shit. We thought the game was going to go on for like another hour, and it was just like over. And we're like, oh, well.
Both of us looked up and made the like surprised Pikachu face at each other as we realized what was about to happen. Just, oh. And again, if that happens in a battle report, it would just happen. Okay, yeah. It would stay in. So yeah, that is the other thing I want to ask is in addition to being flexible with us in terms of upload and as we figured out what that's going to be, also, please give us your feedback and a little bit of grace as we make some stuff that's probably going to be rough.
Yeah.
And just, tell us what's working, tell us what's not, how we can improve. We'll figure this thing out together. But the thing I can promise you is that it will be stuff that we are excited to try make it. And I think of everything together, that's the most important piece.
Joe, did you crash?
We'll be excited about trying to make it. I think that's probably going to be the most important goal of not just this year, but for the channel for the rest of the time that we do it together. And I'm excited to see how that works out. Yeah, so like for us, the big thing in the coming year is that we don't know what the quality level is going to be like for these things, especially for new stuff that we're trying. But we're going to give it our damnedest. And I just ask that you give us your patience, that you give us a little bit of grace and leeway as we find out what we're good at, what we're bad at, and how that's going to work. And just give us your honest feedback on what was working, what ain't, and how we can improve. And we're willing to put in the work to do that. And hopefully in the end, it will end up with something that's pretty fun. But the thing that I can promise is that whatever it is that we're making, it's a thing that we're genuinely excited to try making. Even if it is a little tacky, if it's a little weird, at least it's a thing that we're here and excited about. And I think that's the most important thing, not only for this year, but probably for the channel going forward.
Yeah. And like, I don't want to say there's some stuff that's just like immediately off the table forever. But there is some stuff that I think we're disincentivized to do. I will say that. But I do want to hear what you all want, right? What you all as listeners want us to cover, right? If there's games you're interested in us doing and getting better reports for, we are likely to listen and try, right? Like stuff we've talked about doing is like Infinity, Trench Crusade, Conquest, stuff like that. There's some games we might not want to do for how much effort will be required for it, but we're at least willing to discuss it. And like we're interested. Mm-hmm. But for us, I think a lot of what we want to try to make battle reports for are games that just don't get a lot of traction online, right?
Like that deserve more, to be quite frank.
Yeah, like
there are multiple games that are smaller that are wonderful that just they don't get the attention they deserve. And if I can use the efforts to help them and show y'all a good time of what we're getting, it's a win-win.
Yeah, like
an example for me is Death Wizards from Starling Badger Games, from Vince Ventrilla and Uncle Adam. That was like my favorite game of last year, full transparency. Of everything we played, I had the most fun probably with Death Wizards as a new thing. Mm-hmm. It was baller. It's amazing. Every time I've played it, I've had a ton of chuckles and giggles. I don't think battle reports for that hardly ever exist.
No.
But it should.
Or like...
It deserves it.
I think Hamatsu would be a great one for doing that, right? Or like Rangers of Shadowdeep. Like, there's lots of these little games out there who, like, the people who worked on them put their heart and soul into these little projects that they worked on, they published and released. Like, there's a ton of effort putting into them, and they deserve to have someone play them and put it on the internet in a real way and just enjoy it. Like, and for you all to see it, and maybe, like, you have no idea what some of these games are we just talked about, and you're like, what? And you're like, you would maybe watch a video with us talking about one of these games and you'd be super interested, but you can't get sold until you see it played, and nobody around you plays, so you just dies on the interest like cutting room floor. where you could instead watch a battle report where we've talked about a thing we're really excited about, show like what we're going to do, how do we get into it, show a battle report of what it's like, and now you feel galvanized to start a group in your local area. That's awesome, right? We'd love to be able to do that. But in order to do that, we're going to need more time, effort, and to be honest, we're going to have to do it how we do everything else. Fumble our way through it.
We're here on enthusiasm and grit.
Yeah.
Okay? We'll bang our head on the wall until eventually we break through it. And, we would appreciate your feedback to help. Looking into 2025, I'm just so excited for what we have coming, and also am grateful for the people that we get to try to do it with, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I want to try to take a swing at doing some great stuff, truly. And I thank y'all in advance for the leeway and assistance you will give us in trying to help us get there.
Like 5 years ago, when we started this, we were...
Oh my God, has it been 5?
It's been 5 years. We started in 2020, man. We started, come October, it will be, like 5 years. So, we started where I was recording in a closet. You were recording in your old apartment. Neither of us had 3D printers. We were still just playing Age of Sigmar and 40k together, occasionally, but the Panini happened, and so we couldn't do any of that. And so in order to do anything close to it, we had to talk about it. Now we have multiple 3D printers, multiple things that we're doing. We're constantly creating new stuff. We're at a shop that we both go and run multiple things at. We've got huge communities worth of people that played. We literally play with dozens of people. I think, no joke, 10 times the amount of people that we used to play with, right? We've reached lots of people. We've met hundreds of people. We've gone to conventions. We're going to go to future conventions. There's a bunch of stuff we've done from the show, and we want to do more, right? And none of that means we want money, right? We're not trying to go, I want the money, I want career. We're going, no, we want to have a cool time, and we want to share it with everybody. Let's go to stuff. We've talked about going to Origins together next year and recording us doing dumb stuff at Origins. Is it a mostly miniatures game thing? No, it's mostly board games and TTRPGs, but there's some board game stuff there.
Luckily, I love those too.
Yeah, we just a bunch of stuff, right? That's another thing. We're a mostly war game channel. But if you all really want to know what we think of World of Darkness, hell yeah, I can't get Joe to shut up about World of Darkness.
You don't know what Pandora's box you would be opening.
And so just whatever y'all want to see, cool. Because really, at the end of the day, what this channel was, has been, and will continue to be, is us on front of the camera and the people behind us helping us make the show happen. All are a bunch of people who play these games together. We aren't doing it for YouTube. We are sharing it with YouTube. Without YouTube, we still played.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to continue doing that. And if we wanted to share the fun, good times with games with you all so that you all can be a part of it and spread it yourselves. How we do that's going to change all the time. But, it'll always stay that premise.
And I hope we manage to land it. I do. And if we don't, let us know.
True. Seriously, yell at us. I don't care.
Yeah.
I will care, but don't feel bad.
I'll take it.
If you're hey, you said this thing, and then you did a thing that's directly opposite of that. Okay.
Let me know.
I can handle criticism. Let's go.
Lord knows we've had it in less constructive ways and still got something out of it.
I've had listeners come up to me in real life and go, this thing you did sucked. And I'm like, all right, why?
Probably fair. Go on. Yeah, I think having enough of emotional resilience to take that is fine. And we appreciate you at least trying to help us out. And I hope y'all had a wonderful holiday season. We missed the hell out of you. And now we get back to it. If you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments below, or feel free to reach out on Instagram. Those are probably the two best ways to get it to us. We would really, really appreciate it, and we will keep our eyes open. And we're going to continue pushing to get more games in over here and organize more stuff with communities, and I really hope y'all get to do the same. For now, that's been all of our opinions, bona fide, and Kentucky Fried. We'll see y'all in the next one.